Alright, here's a demo review for, not entirely sure what team, but looks like your demo gets to mid a little before theirs. He's very aggressive on left, which he just barely lives there. I guess since there's no aggressive bomb, it's alright, but aside from that early demo aggression where he's essentially alone again, he's pretty much alone. It seemed like most of your team was on right, sort of doing sort of like a default mid that you'll see, but your demo is very aggressive on left. I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of the time your demo will get picked if he's off alone on left. Usually you want to have the demo with the rest of your team and like all commit to the right side or all commit to the left and like have your splitter bomb over the crate as the rest of your team sort of pushes into their combo. But regardless, you are working your way into second. Here, this is something I like out of your demo and heavy. They've sort of walked off to the side. This wall is shielding them from spam for the most part, and then they're able to fight what's on bats. Here, it looks like you're just sort of Ubering in on even Ubers when the other team is going to have an advantage by being on the high ground, so trying to avoid Ubers like that and just being more conscious of if you have a player or a number advantage, I think would definitely benefit you, because that essentially just sort of reset the situation. Looks like your flank managed to get 3 kills on the side, but then you also lose a few players. So it's not much of a benefit from trading Ubers there. And there, since you're several players down, also looks like 2 and now 3 people were in sewer. It sort of left you isolated by choke. As med, usually you want to just sort of be sitting behind the rock. Your demo should know not to be peeking super aggro where he'll just get killed by spam. Just be rotating to get 260 health and then spam some. Because usually if he's not spamming continuously, it doesn't really matter because the other team's not going to be pushing. So just being more defensive in med and prioritizing being alive is definitely something you want to focus on. Here you end up losing your demo, so you're just backing out. Your med gets stabbed, unfortunately, as you're leaving. It looked like you had people in IT, some people in sewer. It's possibly just making sure you're committing to backing out quicker and sort of as a team. I think that would help keep your med alive because there would just be more people around to protect him and to be keeping their eyes open for spies. Especially there because you were down a demo, so leaving and just holding your own seconds, a fairly easy thing to do. But since they have advantage, you guys are playing this well by being pretty passive back here. Since you don't have sewer control, your sniper was a little too forward there. Playing passive is fine if you give up sewer. You guys do a good job of being passive and getting the force and backing out. You only lose 2 players, so it's not really much to complain about. I would definitely suggest having your heavy with your combo in that situation. He might have been dead. But yeah, in general, having your heavy with your combo as you're backing out in a post-tuber, they're definitely going to be rushing you in that situation, so probably having more protective heavy there would benefit you. Might have like a visual player glitch because I could not see your heavy before he died. Here you guys advantage, you're pushing. Looks like your sniper is pretty far forward going for picks. Definitely it would be better if your sniper to just sort of preserve their life and just have the threat of a sniper and be able to sort of peek roll out post super. And since you sort of lost the fight, you lost your combo, you still have people pushing in a second, which since you have so much cap time, that's fine. But in general, like, as soon as you start losing the fight, you want to just run for the hills. Here, Scout managed to get 2 kills, so that's really helpful. And then you finish the cap. But that exchange went fine, you just sort of reset, and you're ready to hold last. I wouldn't really agree with peeking rollout in this situation because you're down 2 players, so you're not going to be able to block at the cap. And so peeking like that aggressive, just really sets you up to being picked and letting them push in. There you didn't really have anyone watching a rollout, and so they were able to spam your medic pretty well. Here, it just like your heavy didn't really have any reason to be that aggressive by rollout. It's even Ubers and you're just holding, so there's no real benefits from peeking like that. It's just a risk. Here you have 3 picks, so you're pushing, but you end up losing players to their flank and their demo spam before and during the Uber. Your combo does a good job of managing to escape, but on like that slim of a player advantage, I wouldn't really suggest pushing because it's pretty hard to have a successful push into second, and then oftentimes it'll just end poorly for your team. Here it seems like only the demo really was focusing forward. I think 2 people turned around to fight the spy when there was like more immediate threats of pretty much the majority of their team pushing in through rollout. That's something that DK struggled with in the past. Like 3 people would look at a spy, and so essentially taking 3 people out of the fight and then just allowing them to essentially be 6v9 when they're pushing. But here you reset. They're 2 down, only a soldier and a spy, so not really worth pushing. Your med again is kind of alone, I guess rotating to lobby to try to get a pick or something. But in general, yeah, the heavy right there is not really an ideal spot. Because holding last, if you're in this spot, it's really easy for a spy to just decloak right here and come around, so you need your team and your med to be really vigilant of spies in that situation. When it's even here, it's mostly just about waiting until they push, letting them make the mistake, and then just pushing out. Here, again, it seems like your demo and your med are sort of on their own page from the rest of the team, and they're just sort of Ubering out into lobby for almost no reason, and they were fairly alone, and so your med got forced, or it might have been a planned Uber, but overall it seems like your combo is sort of getting aggressive without the rest of the team being aware or even fear calling what you're doing. It seems like the rest of your team doesn't have enough time to react, or they just don't aren't really understanding that they need to be coming with you to support you. But coming into the second mid, demo misses the rollout a little bit. It's not really that big of a deal for the demo to be fast to mid in Highlander. So definitely taking like a slower rollout where you'll end with more health, I would definitely suggest trying that. Here you guys are doing sort of more aggressive to the right together, which is pretty good. I liked how your soldier and your scout were sort of focusing on upper control. And then as your soldier bombed initially, looked like your demo was trying to get aggressive, but they were sort of blocking you. You guys did a good job of sort of pressuring and controlling both the right side and the high ground. So it's just a solid mid by you guys. Here, since your combo is like fairly alone, it's definitely fun to just be passive into the dispenser. It's easy to look for spies decloaking, and you can't really be hit by spam. It seems like pretty much everyone's sort of reacting to the immediate threat of like, oh, is there someone IT? It looks like you guys could do a better job of sort of figuring out where you're watching like your combo is going to be solely focused choke, and then your flank can watch the other sides. Because it seems like you guys, whether it be for a spy or for a flank, it seems like a lot of you guys are turning for it, which sort of opens you guys up for pushes through other chokes or bombing soldiers or whatnot. So just trying to be more cognizant of making sure you're being responsible for what you're supposed to be watching. Like if you're near choke, you should be watching choke, because if you just turn to look at IT, that's not really going to be able to do much for blocking people pushing IT, and just sort of trusting your teammates to stop the push, and just making sure that you're aware of what you need to be looking at. You guys try to work in, don't really find an opening, so you rotate back to choke, that's fine. Here with advantage, something that could be pretty good is going through IT to get close, or just how you were going initially, walking through sewer, and then getting to here and then Ubering into them. But straight Ubering through choke, I don't think you guys had your scout with you. Every time, if you're pushing with advantage, you definitely want your scout. Scout, soldier, pop them through choke, and then come in with your demo man. That can be very solid. But just sort of going in with mostly just your demo man, from what I saw, it's going to be really hard to have a successful Uber. And especially if you have advantage, it's fine to flash plenty of people. Here you know they're coming in with Uber. Just having your soldier bomb, that's fine. Your demo was pretty far forward. I'm surprised you didn't really take much damage. This is sort of similar to what was going on earlier, where your med and sort of your whole team were sort of split up. You got 3 players by choke and 3 players in IT. Usually want to try to back out more together, because then it just protects your med and allows the rest of your team to be healed. Here your scout, I'm not sure where your scout is. Again, just unfortunate timings of that Uber. Your scout wasn't quite with you. Here is med, your demo doesn't really need to be tanked as you're pushing in, so I think sort of being more passive and maybe just playing by the edge of this shutter here so you can escape easily if you need to, but you're still able to heal people as you're pushing. I think that would have helped your push. Another big thing for process when you're pushing is just take it really slowly. Make sure like heavy pyro scout and demo are all together as they come through. This is for when you have like a player Uber advantage and you're just sort of working your way into like second or mid. You want to make sure you have enough players so blob it up together that if a soldier bombs you can deal with it immediately, or if a random class pushes you, because with 9 players there's always going to be somebody coming onto you, and so just sort of being sort of blobbed up and just slowly and methodically working your way through choke is going to benefit you guys. So it seems like in a lot of these transition fights that your med is sort of alone and not really supported. Looks like your heavy is flanking through IT. Not really sure why. That's sort of something I've been seeing a lot, is heavy hasn't really been with the med and demo as much as he could be. And then also maybe just your demo being overly aggressive. But you guys do a good job of walking up to choke, locking them out. Here, since you have advantage, you should definitely try having the scout come into this Uber. You know that their demo is close here, so just going right into them would be better. You might not know you have advantage, so that's fine. You can't really know every time. Here again, like your heavies in IT alone or sewer alone, it's normally where like the scout, NG, or soldier would play. So not really sure why he's taking those positions. And then when you have nobody in sewer, you either want your demo to have it trapped or you want presence in there, because something like that will happen. The soldier will just peek shutter and get free rockets on your med. But here you guys end up having to force on a pyro. Then they were able to just sort of plus forward with their own Uber. Here it looks like your demo and your med are like really far forward, fairly alone. You just have a soldier burning over there. So I think just trying to calm, like we're fighting the point, we're backing out, and just making sure everybody's aware of what you're doing and everybody's making sure they're listening and acting on the calls. Here it seems like you almost have every single person in IT, which is sort of an improvement from being isolated, but it's really just too many people blobbed up. Another thing I've been seeing is your med sort of is staying committed after Ubers a little too much. Should definitely try being more passive in general, so you're more likely to stay alive sort of during transitions, and then make sure you just bail when you need to on Ubers, because that half a second of Uber more is not going to make or break an Uber, but getting out alive could make or break rounds, really. Here your demo sort of comes back in instead of going to resup, which I'm not really sure why. Could have lived. But sort of overall it seemed like it was just the demo and the soldier on right fighting them. So it seems like you guys aren't blobbing enough for the most part when fighting, and you guys aren't really focus firing on specific targets or just sort of spamming an area together. Here your demo's aggressive, that's fine. But in general, like, your demo either needs to commit to going aggressive left or just play on right so they can actually be healed. It seems like the biggest thing is just your demo is just sort of on a different page from the rest of the team. Just sort of plus forwarding the other team, and then your med follows him and then ends up dying because of that. So either just making sure your med is more passive and more focused on his own life rather than making sure the demo's healed when he's plus forwarding at bad times. Or just simply having the rest of your team make sure that they're following the demo in your med. I don't know, maybe your demo is new to your team or new to Highlander, but it just seems like he's not really conscious of his own life, or that Highlander really revolves around the demo, and so he just sort of puts himself in the med in sort of bad situations. So I think having your demo be more passive in your med as well, just being a lot more passive and defensive with your med's positioning would definitely benefit you guys. Here looks like your sniper's peeking really close. Gets the demo, but in that spot I feel like you usually tend to get picked. Here the heavy is running into sewer alone. There's no real reason for that. And then your demo again is just like a terrible solo Uber into choke. Usually you don't want to solo the demo unless it's like payload and they're all clumped up. Oftentimes you always want the scout in. Another thing to think about is if they're really close choke and you have advantage, or if it's just even and you want to make sure they use and they can't really chase, you can have your heavy come with you, because the 450 health after the Uber is going to slow them down at least, and if they're close they can do a lot of damage. Here it seems like there's absolutely no reason for your med to be here. Should definitely be more passive. It's like, unless you're actively pushing, you don't want to be that close. Things like that are kind of hard to avoid when you get hit by a sticky and a pipe at the same time, but it seemed like maybe you could have been at like a farther heal range, like really using the full length of your beam. Because then you can avoid spam a little better. See sort of what Noble's doing. He wasn't immediately following his demo as he walked forward. Doesn't end up dying to a trap, but that's not really something that avoided by him being closer. He just sort of took his time walking up, and then he's sort of just playing range and making sure he's with the rest of his team. So trying to be with your heavy, with your pyro, with your scout, and then just making sure you're healing from a long range and not like blindly following your demo, because it seems like your demo is sort of plus 40 at bad times. Med versus the world. For that last bush though, it seemed like you guys were fairly spread out across. But I think you guys could have backed up more to avoid their Uber. I'm not sure if you had people in lobby that got killed as they were pushing, but trying to be a little more passive could benefit you guys. Your demo's very aggressive for the 4th mid. Gets the kill on the demo. In this situation, usually teams decide we're going left or we're going right on mids, so they don't have to sort of cross this middle sniper lane. It seemed like your demo sort of going the opposite of where the rest of the team is, but there you did have the pyro and I think like 2 other classes with your demo and mid, so that was good to get that sort of coordinated aggression. Here your med should definitely be taking it slower, pretty far forward as you're coming in with Uber advantage and with Uber, just sort of opening yourself up to being forced. But I would assume from how you're playing that you assume that the other team had Uber because their med lived. When holding second, usually I like to sort of play right here or play on the point, because it's a lot safer than holding right here, because something can just peek roll out and kill the— oh my god. I've never seen that before in an actual game. That's embarrassing. But here, you guys have big numbers advantage, but you're not really playing to it. Sometimes when you get picks like that, especially if you kill the sniper, you just sort of want to walk it in right side and get fairly close without it using. And like that, it seemed like a lot of your players died during the Uber exchange. When you have such a big player advantage, you just want to sort of trade Ubers, make them use, and then swarm in with everybody in the post-Uber fight, because that's when you're going to be able to leverage your numbers. But here you get a pick on their demo and their heavy, so you should be looking to push off this. Going lobby is pretty common, works well. But it seems like it's only your demo and your scout really working in. There's not enough people who committed immediately, and so you're just gonna have to back out. Sitting in lobby as meds definitely pretty scary because spam can kill you quickly. It's not really a big benefit to holding in lobby as a combo. You definitely want to be holding more passively, because it's just putting too much risk that you're going to get picked off if you're like committing to a lobby hold. But stuff like this is good, where you're just sort of buffing the sniper, trying to get him an angle. What are your soldiers doing now? Just sort of checking out lobby, that's fine to be doing, so you don't get surprised and flanked. Here, like, I'm not really understanding this Uber at all, because their combos nowhere close, they're not even going to need to use. You don't kill the gun. So maybe whoever's like controlling what the combo is doing should really focus on what the goal of the Uber is, and like making sure that Ubering will be helpful for them at that point in time. Like, I don't know if it's your demo calling for it, or your med just being scared and popping. Because if your med feels like they're too committed and needs to pop, then just playing more passive, like I said earlier, could definitely help you guys. But if it's your demo, just making sure they understand you can't just Uber in and get kills like that. Has to be like a reasonable advantage for why you're pushing. But you guys get out to second with your meds, so that's good. Seems like some people were leaving IT, some were going choke. Only like 2 stragglers really get picked off there. So that's no problem. Still even Ubers. I'm actually not totally sure why they were able to push in. Seems like you guys were fairly passive, but I'm not sure who exactly was dead from your team. Again, like, your heavy is like alone in sewer, which is just gonna get him killed. Usually when like your demo's falling back family, you definitely want to back up as well as med. 'Cause it's very easy for someone to just fly through sewer, fly through choke, and force you or kill you. Here I guess you're just pushing because you're low on time, but it doesn't really matter for a scrim. You should just be playing how you normally play. I guess if you just wanted to practice pushing, then that's fine to do, but you get 3 picks. God, fucking Redman dude and his level 3s. Usually off a sniper pick like that, it's fine to just back up and then sort of work through choke. With a gun, you definitely want to try to get your spy involved, but I think your spy was dead. But here again, like, it's your med and demo walking through choke alone. Your heavy was going into sewer for no reason really. Should have been with the combo. Here it's just 10 seconds left. Buff your Uber stats. Yeah, I think overall having more people with your combo when you're pushing and sort of in between times, and then making sure your demo is playing slower and making sure that when you guys are pushing and putting yourself in a place where you need to Uber, that you really have a plan of what you're trying to do and the rest of your team is aware of what's going on, and so you can sort of get coordinated pushes and not really have your combos isolated as they were. So hopefully this video helps, and good luck on Monday.